All right, it is 9 something in the morning. I took today off from work. Well, that is to say, I probably wouldn't have been scheduled anyway. Yesterday, I went in based on the schedule that I'd taken a picture of, not realizing that they email out the finished schedule to everyone. And the day that I had been penned in for the day, yesterday, I was actually not on schedule, so I got there and showed up to clock in, and nobody knew that I was supposed to be there. So I delivered for like 2 hours, made about $24, and that was just tips and runs. Then I went home and chilled out and got to bed at a reasonable time. I'd been penciled in to work 5:30 to 11:30, which meant that I probably wouldn't get out of work until probably 12 or 12:30, depending, and then have to come home and wind down and get to bed, and it would have been hell waking up this morning. Instead, I was able to get to bed at a reasonable time and then just wake up every hour or two instead. But it was better than, rushing to try and cram in 4 hours or something. I was able to either be awake or in torpor for about 6 to 8 hours. So this morning I had Zoom court. Woo. So this whole saga has been going on. As a recap, April 1st, I was served my notice of dissolution of marriage petition from the ex, soon to be ex. When I went to work at my buddy's house in Pekin for a week, I used his laptop to author a PDF because I couldn't get it to work right on any of my Android devices. And was in the mistaken understanding that yes, darling, the certified and approved logon for the e-file system for the courts does not constitute a signature. I'm baffled by the fact that we still use a physical signature. I mean, yeah, you can check that against whether it was really written and whether it's really a person's signature, but when it's a photocopied scan added to a PDF file, there's really no security whatsoever to it, and I would assume that a logon would be a more viable thing, but that's not how it works. So anyways, I uploaded the original answer, was given a denial notice that it had not been approved because there was no signature on it, so then I couldn't add a signature, so I was like, okay, well, let's see what the default judgment's going to be. And then I come to find out later that the default judgment is actually like division of assets. And so received a default filing from the opposing attorney. I was representing myself here, and managed to get a hold of her on the phone. It was interesting because I was trying to be, humble and polite and cool about the fact that I was like, the respondent in a case that she's the attorney for the petitioner, but I needed to speak with her. And her front desk attendant was adversarial. And when I got the phone call, it was very tentative, very unsure what we're doing. And by taking that read on that tone, I just was very careful about anything that I said. I wasn't like overly guarded, but don't release information that's not necessary. Don't overshare. This is your opposing attorney. And so then we came to an agreement that I would receive the house. There would be, I said I would prefer that the debts be kept separate and everything else that we discussed, and was told to go ahead and refile the answer and that we'd make changes. Well, I refiled the answer and I never received a confirmation of upload that it was approved, and apparently if you don't get the approval upload, then it doesn't go through, so they didn't get it. So then I received the notification for the Zoom hearing and attended that this morning via phone. And it was legit less than 10 minutes because they were like, so we show that you don't have a filing for an answer. I said, no, I tried and I had issues with the upload. It was denied, and then fixed the thing and uploaded it again and never received anything further. And the judge says, yeah, you're supposed to receive a confirmation notice. And I was like, I did not know that. The Iowa e-file system on their website is not self-explanatory. And it's like, for people that aren't lawyers, that have no legal training, I mean, I'm like a really high IQ, but no actual legal training, and my only experience in knowing anything real about divorce court was several aunts when I was a kid, and being firsthand paramour in a divorce case with children in house custody that was not at all like this. And in that one, the husband, her ex-husband, was living in the house that they both owned, and he got the house. So I thought that was the default. Basically, the judge said you got 10 days to re-upload the answer, and I said, okay, I'll get right on that. And he said, get a hold of the attorney. If you guys can resolve any of this business separately, then we just dissolve the marriage. And I was like, oh, okay. Sounds good to me. So I got a hold of the attorney again, and the first thing she did was chide me on not asking questions. And I was like, you do understand, though, that you're the opposing attorney in a divorce, and I don't know what I'm walking into. Oh, well. So then she assured me that she's going to amend the default filing to a stipulation that the property will go to me, debts will stay separate, etc. Everything that we talked about, basically everything that I wanted. And she specifically stated, since there's no alimony or anything else between us, which is like, not to get into too many details, but the shit that I had to deal with my ex involved actually making about 50-50 on the money, but her constantly saying that I was a drag on her being the primary breadwinner, especially in times when there was no work to be had. But we generally made an even amount between us. It's part of that pressure that brought on ideation. It's like, I mean, if I had wanted to, I suppose I probably could have pushed for any number of things on a settlement, because this was a clear abandonment situation in the legal sense, a narcissist discard in the psychological abuse sense. But yeah, so that's in process. Once my answer's been uploaded, the attorney is going to update her filing, and once I receive a copy of that to sign off on, it'll go back. We're supposed to then get a dissolution. I don't know how long that'll take before that actually is ruled. Could be a month, could be freaking October. And then after that, there will be, I can't remember the name of the deed. I've heard the name a few times, but I can't recall it. But there's a special kind of deed that this attorney will file that will remove her name from the property and send it to me, and I will then turn it into the courthouse, and that should be that. So today I thought I was going to have some sort of closure, and I have a feeling that closure is more impending and will be okay, but it's just also a prolonging, because it's the court system and it does that. So that's my update. It's now a beautiful early day that I have off. I don't work again until Friday, so I got some work to do around the land, I think. Firewood to gather, brush to burn, paint the roof or something, I don't know. On the work front of things, yeah, I'm waiting on payday. Got to get the check in the bank and get the electric bill paid, and then all the cash I make over the weekend goes towards saving up aside and getting bills ready for the next month. And then once I have all of that, we can get everything paid immediately, and then all the other money that I make the rest of the month just saves up to pay the next month, so that when I start the first month, I'm just saving up. So My goal is at this point by September or October be far enough ahead that I'm able to easily make my property tax payment in stages. That by Christmas time my property tax is 100% took care of, as well as any issues on vehicles. I'm gonna have to get my four-wheel drive going at some point here too. Yesterday I changed the oil. It was breaking down pretty quick, and I on Friday night had to add a quart. I did not do the ATF trick, but what I did do was after I had emptied all of the oil out and removed the filter, and it was done draining, I poured a quart of ATF down through the crankcase and allowed it to degunk anything that was at the bottom, sludge that needed to slide down, stuff like that. Changed out the oil, ran it until the stuff I dribbled onto the exhaust manifold burned off, and went on about my day to work. Drove okay for the bit. The misfire code is happening a lot less often. However, I'm noticing it is still misfiring, so there's still something I got to take a look at some point here. I think my first thing I'm actually going to look at is my mass airflow meter. I went ahead and cleaned that, and the funny thing was, after cleaning it, I hooked it back into the ducting, but I forgot to attach the plug to it, so it was not connected, and I drove it all the way to work that way, and I was getting a code for low input or no input on mass airflow, but the engine was running perfectly. So then I plugged that back in, and it ran with the misfire, so the MAF is part of the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the MAF, and I don't know if it's just a default speed density type engine setting that it was on otherwise, but I know that probably wouldn't last, so I'm not going to just drive without an MAF. But definitely, that's one of the things I've got to look at getting to get it running properly. And then I got to get this front four-wheel drive shaft U-joint situation figured out, and after that, there ain't much else to do with it. Keep it up. So, yeah, this ends the channel update, life update, divorce update. I'm sure I'll have something else to upload later on.